If you're just joining, I'm Mary Grace. This is Mary Grace Media. And before I forget, please follow my channel. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Mary Grace Media. And that would be great, because the more people I get over there, the more I can post content from walking scopes like this. And we don't have to rely exclusively on one platform like Periscope, because they did take me down recently. And they've done it to pretty much everybody I know who produces content, including Praying Medic. Okay, so some of you guys probably came because you saw the title of my scope about Tulsi Gabbard. I'm talking about Tulsi Gabbard. What is Tulsi doing? And I've been thinking about this for a long time, because I've been watching her and I've been paying attention to her. And really, she's one of those people that from the very start, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Well, Dave, stick around, because you're in first for a little bit of news. We're talking about Tulsi. Yeah, I know. You're a little thick today, Dave. So I've been watching Tulsi. And as you guys know, if you guys have been following me for a while, you know that sometimes when I get a sense about something, I am right. and I get a very strong spiritual sense about people. And then, sometimes I start thinking about it and talking about it, and people think I'm crazy, right? Because I've been warning people about Tulsi Gabbard for over a year now. And a lot of people just say, no, she's of no consequence, don't pay attention to her, and things like that, And so sometimes I guess because, hold on a second, I got a ton of trolls in here, weird trolls. Millie, if you can just mute people, that'd be great. So anyway, going back to what I was saying, I've had my misgivings about her, more than just misgivings. I've been talking about her. How long have I been talking about her, Millie? Praying Medic? At least a year, at least. And so it's all becoming more clear, and that is this. As you know, Tulsi Gabbard is a congresswoman from Hawaii, and she is she's running for president. And let me just give you some statistics and some information about the presidential race, because I want you to understand that she's not going to be president in 2020 or even 2024. And here's why. Because statistically, no member of Congress has been elected to president since the late 19th century. So it just doesn't happen. People don't usually go from Congress to the presidency. Senators can get elected to the presidency. It just hasn't, there's no precedent for it for over 100 years. And so that's one thing. Also, if you look at her campaign and her fundraising, she doesn't have nearly the money that, the top 10 Democrat candidates have above her. And then you also look at the fact that we're pretty certain, and I've observed this, and a lot of people will corroborate this, that she is not chosen. She's not the DNC's chosen candidate. Bernie's not their chosen candidate. It's most likely Joe Biden or Elizabeth Warren. Okay. So just keep that in mind. This isn't about Tulsi being president. I don't fear Tulsi at all. So keep listening. Somebody just said, "Why do you fear Tulsi?" I don't fear her. I'm not afraid of her. But I want to open people's eyes to who she is and what she's doing. Okay? So This week, Tulsi has been in the news a lot because the media likes to have Tulsi on whenever anything happens that warrants an opinion from the left. So even the so-called conservative media, which Fox used to be, will have Tulsi on. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And some of those reasons are enough to give you pause. So one of the reasons that the conservative media has her on is because she presents as the most sane and likable and balanced of the Democrats, doesn't she? So like when you look at her, she's young, she's attractive, she's well-spoken, she's not completely crazy, she's not completely off her rocker. And so she gives the image of, and she's a woman, right? She's attractive. She gives the image, the impression of somebody who's got it together, and she's articulate. So, they have her on because, she's not gonna rock the boat really when she comes on these shows. And she's also she's building her political clout. She's building her, she's staking her territory so that in the future, whenever she does run for something bigger, like senator, she has the favor of the media. So she's cultivating her media allies. Do you see that? And I'll give you an example of that and of how the media loves her and how she's playing that. So about, when was it that the North Korean missile scare happened? When was that? Was it somebody help me out with the date on that? She, when the Hawaiians had when the Hawaiians were scared that the North Koreans were going to bomb them, January 2018. Okay, so think about this. So that happened. There was a lot of tension. Everybody was blaming the president for that, and when the all clear came, the person who came on the media, on the news, to give the all clear for Hawaii was Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. So think about this. The people of Hawaii are scared to death. I mean, I know people who live there. I used to live there. People were terrified. And, this was a state issue, really. It was because it was affecting directly the state of Hawaii. So why didn't the governor come on and give the all clear? Why didn't Senator Mazie Hirono come on and give the all clear? How come it was a congresswoman? There are many other people from Hawaii who serve in Congress. There are 432 people serving in Congress around the country. See what I'm saying? So how come Tulsi Gabbard was the front person, was the talking head for that operation? I mean, I was asking that question from the start. So that's one of the things that gave me pause about Tulsi, and I started talking about her back then. And if you've heard me talk any at all about this, you also know that I've talked about the politics of Hawaii because I used to live there. And even then, people were saying that Tulsi was a moderate. And I said, and I will continue to say, there's no such thing as a moderate getting elected out of Hawaii. Hawaii is basically a socialist state, and it's also run by a coalition, a loose coalition of different mafia that tolerate and work with each other to maintain a balance of power. What do I mean by that? You've got the Japanese mafia, you've got the Korean mafia, you've got the Brazilian mafia, You've got the local Hawaiian mafia. You've got a whole bunch. You've got the union mafias. And so it's virtually impossible to be a politician in Hawaii without being owned by some of those. Hold on a second. By at least one of those groups in Hawaii. Okay, so she can tell you that she's not taking special interest money or anything like that, but that's not exactly correct. Okay, so on that front, she's owned. Now, okay, so thinking about everything that I have said, what difference does it make? I mean, aren't all the Democrats like that? Aren't they all like that? Like they all have something like that in their closet. They all have something to hide. They're all pretending to be something they're not. They're all, in some cases they talk a good talk, but they're not really who they say they are, right? And so you're probably wondering, like, why does Tulsi matter? Why does it matter that I'm concerned about her? So here's why it matters. And this is an object lesson, and I want people to understand what's going on, because some people still aren't getting it. There are people who have raised the idea that Tulsi is actually working in conjunction with Hillary Clinton and with the Democrats to get Hillary on the ticket, and that this whole cat fight between Tulsi and Hillary Clinton on Friday, I think it was a setup, like that it was a psyop to get people to put eyes on both of them, right? Tracy Beans has written about this. I'm not going to go into great detail about it, but that's a strong possibility. And so I was thinking, I've been thinking about Tulsi. Everybody was singing Tulsi's praises the past few days because Tulsi came out and basically gave Hillary a smackdown on Twitter. So there was like a Twitter fight between Tulsi and Hillary because Hillary Clinton has been calling Tulsi a Russian plant. Yeah, exactly. She's polling at 2%. Why would Hillary care about that? But Hillary has been, maligning Tulsi Gabbard, defaming her, spreading lies about her, doing the same thing that she tried to do with Trump. But she's doing it to somebody that's supposedly from her own party. And because Tulsi hit back, and because Tulsi has performed well in the debates, we've got a ton of people who are on the conservative side. A bunch of MAGA people are all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but most recently, a bunch of Trump supporters, a bunch of so-called conservatives, a bunch of people that we have called out time and time again are singing her praises. They're coming out and they're saying, yay, Tulsi, go Tulsi. If I were going to vote for a Democrat, I would vote for Tulsi. She's not that bad. She's, good looking. She's well spoken. She took down Hillary Clinton in 3 tweets, right? And so the question that I would ask you is the enemy of your enemy your friend? Is the enemy of your enemy always your friend? Well, because the way that I'm seeing people respond and rally around Tulsi and sing her praises, I'm talking about conservatives now, you would think that they had decided that because Tulsi said what she did about Hillary Clinton and called her to the carpet, literally said, why don't you make this legit when we're both candidates? they're thinking that, oh, good, here's somebody that's going to take down Hillary Clinton. She must be our friend. So think about the logic there, okay? First of all, Hillary Clinton is not a threat. Hillary Clinton's not a threat. Even if she runs, she doesn't have the backing. She doesn't have the money. She doesn't have the ability. She doesn't have the health, the stamina, or anything to be a threat. Tulsi Gabbard is not a threat on the political front as a presidential candidate. So what is it that Tulsi Gabbard is doing? Why is she doing this? And why do we have people who are jumping on the bandwagon and all of a sudden, all up in my mentions and a whole bunch of other people's mentions, saying, oh my gosh, she's so amazing. And look how attractive she is. I've got a lot of men saying she's really hot. Really? I mean, there was a time when maybe Nancy Pelosi could have been considered hot because she was younger, and it was before she had 37 facelifts. There was a time when even Hillary Clinton could have been considered hot before she gained 200 pounds and started wearing shower curtains everywhere. Think about that. Okay? So let's think with our brains, people, men especially, like right here, this brain, okay? So I'm just saying, come on. Now, so this morning, I've heard someone, women don't age well. Yeah. Is she someone? I didn't know that. I thought she was, interesting. Well, that gives me even more insight. Wow. Okay. So, this is what came to me this morning, right? So I talk to God a lot, and I hear from God a lot, and I was asking God, what is going on? What's going on here? What is it that I need to talk to people about? What is it that I need to say about Tulsi? Because I feel like I've just been shouting from the rooftops for over a year now, don't trust Tulsi Gabbard. And it just kind of goes into the ether. And so this morning, this is what happened. I was laying there in bed and it was pouring down rain, and I just said, God, what is it with Tulsi Gabbard? And he said, it's the little foxes. God said, it's about the little foxes. And I said, what? And there's only one place in Scripture that talks about the little foxes, and that is in the Song of Solomon. And so I went and read it, and this is a part of Scripture that a lot of people are familiar with, the term of the little foxes, right? And so I looked it up, and I actually wrote it down. I remembered to bring my notes this time. So the Scripture, it starts with this, and this is if you know that the Song of Song, it's a, I guess, kind of an allegory, right? You have the bride, the bridegroom, and then you have the chorus, who is urging this marriage between the bride and the bridegroom along, okay? So the bridegroom is saying in the second chapter of Song of Songs, the rain is already over and gone. The flowers have already appeared in the land. The time has arrived for pruning the vines. And the voice of the turtle dove has been heard in our land. And then you skip up to verse 15. And the chorus says, catch the foxes for us, the little foxes that are ruining the vineyards, while our vineyards are in blossom. Now, this is what I want to talk about, because I did some research on this. I started doing a word study, and I looked up the word for ruining, and I also did some research on vineyards and on the vines and how vineyards are grown and cultivated. And so this is what I found, and this is what I believe God was telling me about Tulsi. I know somebody keeps saying she's a wolf in sheep's clothing, and I heard you, and everybody else sees it, so you don't have to shout it. Just listen, pay attention. So this is what I found out. So first of all, I looked up the word for ruining. So the foxes are ruining the vineyards while our vineyards are in blossom. So the word in the Hebrew that they use for ruining in the Strong's, you can look this up, Strong's number 2254. Tulsi is the most moderate candidate running. Huge deception. Absolutely not true. Keep listening and I'll tell you why. So the word is shabal. It's Chabal, which is actually pronounced, I believe, chabal. Okay? And this is what it means. To overtake, retain, bring on destruction, destroy, ruin, corrupt. Okay, so think about this. Now, the chorus chimes in and says, catch the foxes. They are ruining our vineyards while the vineyards are in flower. So why does this have any significance? We're not agreeing to disagree because we're looking at facts. This is not opinion, it's fact. Okay, so why does this matter? Why is the wording important? Well, if anyone has ever looked at this scripture and anyone's ever heard about it, one of the common ideas and conceptions about the little foxes in the vineyard is that people have often interpreted this to say that the foxes are like a distraction. So don't let the cares of this world or the distractions get at you. But that's not actually what the word is saying. The word is actually saying that the foxes are destroying and they are there to corrupt. That is very different from distraction. It's destruction, not distraction. Do you see that? And this is what I found out about vineyards, and I want you to stay with me here, track with me, because I want to explain to you what I got on this, okay? And that is this. So the way that vineyards are planted and cultivated is that it takes a long time to establish a vineyard. And a good vine dresser, a good vineyard owner, farmer, knows that there are certain stages that take place in the cultivation and establishment of a good vineyard. And one of those is that you constantly trim the vines and you train them, and it can take years to establish really good vines that produce award-winning, really good wine. And one of the things that, the wine comes in, the vineyards grow in different stages, okay? And so one of the stages is the budding. So in the early spring, the budding is right before the blossom comes out. And during that time, right when the blossom comes, it's before the leaves start to grow in and before the fruit comes. The blossom time is a really critical time because the vine dresser himself will go through and cut out certain blossoms and leave other ones so that the energy of the vine can be put into the blossoms that the vine dresser deems the most likely to produce the best fruit. Are you tracking with me? So when you look at a vineyard in early spring, you look at the vines, it looks like they've been hacked back. It looks like they've had like severe haircuts. And that is because the vine dresser knows just what they're looking for, and they strategically cut back certain flowers off of the vine. So that's a very strategic time in the life of the vineyard, is when the blossoms, when the flowers on the vine are blooming. And this is what the time period is in this scripture when the Bible is talking about it. The psalmist, or the Song of Solomon, it's written by Solomon. He doesn't talk about the buds. He doesn't talk about the grapes in this section. He talks about the fragrance and the flowers themselves that are in blossom. Do you see that? And that is the time when the foxes are coming, because the foxes are in this particular story, the foxes are destroying the flowers. And they're not doing what the vine dresser is doing. They're not strategically cutting off certain flowers. The foxes are there to destroy. The foxes are there to take everything down. Okay? And so think about that. It's not, the foxes aren't there by invitation. The foxes are there to take. The foxes are there to kill, steal, destroy. And they're doing it at a very strategic time. Now, it's one thing when the fox comes through the vineyard and starts eating the grapes. It's a whole different thing when a fox comes through the vineyard and starts eating the blossoms that will produce grapes. Do you see the difference? Because when the grapes are ripe and mature, the harvesters are out there picking the grapes, and there's a lot of people in the fields there tending the grapes and picking them. But during the blossom time, that's a time when the vineyards are extremely vulnerable. Okay? So track with me here. So now go back to what God told me about Tulsi. And I think you'll find this very fitting. What is Tulsi doing, and why is she here? So somebody in my chat said, oh, she's the most moderate of the Democrats. Really? Is she? Because that's not what I see. She's not moderate. The media, because they have her on every channel 24/7 to talk in a way that sounds moderate, has conditioned you to believe that she's a moderate. That's sort of like if you have, if you've got a vineyard and you've got, all of a sudden you see these little foxes hanging around the edges of your vineyard, and if you're not thinking like a farmer, if you don't think about the future of your vineyard and the longevity of what you're trying to produce, you're going to look at those foxes and you're going to think, oh, they're so cute, don't bother them. They're not going to cause any harm. I mean, they're not very big, and they've got these cute fluffy tails. I mean, just leave them alone. It's okay. So basically what's been happening is that Tulsi herself and the media have conditioned you to think like somebody that doesn't understand the way the farm works and the way the vineyards are supposed to be grown. Because you're not thinking like a farmer. You're thinking like a city person that looks at every little creepy crawly thing that comes along as a pet, as a potential pet. See that? And so it's time to change your thinking. It's time to get off of the Tulsi bandwagon and open your eyes and see what is happening. Okay? Like I said, anybody can come out and speak in an articulate way and look pretty. And by the way, guys, if you really look at the up close of her, she's got terrible skin. So I don't know what you guys are thinking, because when all that makeup comes off. Anyway, but the point is that that the people who have been Trump supporters, the people who have been with him, supporting him, who are being lulled into some sort of crazy false equivalency of thinking that for some reason, like if something happens to Trump, if I'm forced to vote for a Democrat, if there's a third party candidate, if Trump offends me like a little bit with his Twitter, there's always Tulsi to fall back on. That's the lie that you're falling into. And it's very deceptive. And Tulsi, like I said, she's not here to win the presidency. She's here to pull you away from Trump. She's here to ruin the blossoms on the vine. So you think about this. You think about what's happened since 2015 when Trump came down the elevator. promise this isn't about, okay. Think about what's happened since Trump came down that elevator. Think about what was happening in our country. I would, if we're looking at the vineyard analogy, let's talk about what was happening to our vineyard, that is the United States of America. We had a country that was established on the Constitution. It's a fairly young country, and one might say that up until about the time of JFK, the country was really taking roots, and the country was getting into a place that could really produce good fruit. And our country has produced good fruit for years, but if you look at what happened from about 1963, 65 until now, our country has been on a downward slide. And so I would say that not only are the foxes have been in the vineyard, but they have been doing everything they could to uproot and destroy and to plant a whole new system of government into our country. Some people would call it one world government. Some people would call it globalist. Some people would call it socialism. Some people call it communist. Do you see that? And so when Trump got elected, he was in many ways like the vine dresser who came in and started pruning the vines in a strategic way. Do you see that? And so wouldn't it make sense that as the vine, which I'm going to call America, United States of America, as the vine starts to flourish again, which is what we see in the beginning of the scripture, where it says, I read this again, the rain is already over and gone, the flowers have already appeared in the land. The time has arrived for pruning the vines, and the voice of the turtle dove has been heard in our land. So think about this. When you've got a country that's roaring back to prosperity, you have a vineyard that's being brought back from the brink of being completely destroyed, and you have a vine dresser who is actually lovingly tending the vineyard, and you have a country that is coming back into its own and is beginning to prosper again. Do you see what's happening? Our country is starting to prosper again. We're starting to have hope. We're starting to in our minds, we're living in a springtime of the mind. It's an American Renaissance that's happening, and Donald Trump and the people who are supporting him are largely responsible for that. And so this morning, when the Lord said, this is about the foxes, it very much is. Do you see that? Because we have a Tulsi Gabbard who comes in literally looking like a fox, right? You have all these men saying how hot she is. So we know that a lot of times, women who are sexually attractive are called foxes, right? It's no accident that was the scripture that I was given. So you have this woman coming in, and just like the foxes in the scripture, they're here to ruin the blossoms. She's not a moderate. She's not here to help the president tend the vines. The fox doesn't come into the vineyard to help the vine dresser strategically tend the vines. The fox comes into the vineyard to destroy. Do you understand that? This is important to understand, because a lot of people are being deceived by the way that this person presents herself. It's really important to understand this, because she's not the only one, but she's the most visible one, and she's the one that a lot of people are getting hoodwinked by right now. And it's important that people understand this, because I see it over and over and over. People that I thought were really dialed in and who got what was happening are saying, are saying things about Tulsi that just are shocking. She's got a lot of energy. I admire her because she's so articulate. She doesn't take any crap. She stands up to people, right? But here's the thing, guys. These people are not, they're conveniently overlooking the very words that have come out of Tulsi Gabbard's mouth. She put up a video talking about how Hillary Clinton has been attacking her. And the very first part of that video, she says, when I came out in support of Bernie Sanders, when I endorsed Bernie Sanders for president, that's when Hillary really went after me. Think about that, you guys. What? When I endorsed Bernie Sanders. Is Bernie Sanders a moderate? Because you guys keep telling me, and half of Twitter is trying to tell me that Tulsi Gabbard is a moderate. See what I mean? She's telling you with her own mouth who she is. When I endorsed Bernie Sanders for presidency, okay, so here's another one. When the president was negotiating with Saudi Arabia recently, Tulsi came out on Twitter attacking him and basically saying that Trump is Saudi Arabia's bitch. She also came out against him when he bombed Assad. She didn't have to endorse anybody, by the way. Somebody said she had a choice between Hillary and Sanders. No, she didn't have to endorse either one of them. She was a congresswoman. Nobody forced her to make an endorsement. So she came out against Trump for bombing Assad, right? You know, we can't be interventionists. You know, he's doing the wrong thing. We've got to stop these endless wars. And then when Trump announces that we're pulling troops out of Syria, who's making the rounds on the mainstream media? Trump can't take our soldiers out of Syria. He's abandoning the Kurds. He's got to stay in. He's making a strategic error. You see that? She's pro-abortion. She has voted against the Born Alive bill at least twice on the floor of Congress. That is, when a child is born alive after a botched abortion, the bill would keep those children alive. She's voted against it. You see that? What else? She is a climate change supporter. She supports impeachment of our president. That alone should warn you to run far, far away. She is supporting the impeachment of our president. She voted against Kate's law. Do you see that? Yeah, she does speak out of both sides of her mouth. Save our troops. Put our troops in to take care of the Kurds. You see that? This is really important to understand, because it's not just Tulsi that we're talking about. It's a spirit of deception. It is there to prey on the naivete of people who are new to the political process, who have heretofore voted with their emotions. And she's preying on that. In a way, it is similar to Obama. You have somebody out there who is charismatic. She's articulate, right? Obama wasn't that articulate, but people say he was. I don't know why. But, you know, she looks good, you know? But this is just so important. She's against the Electoral College. This is really critical that people understand this. It's a deception. As a Christian, if you are even thinking that Tulsi is a moderate, then I urge you to get in your prayer closet and get a word from God on this, because you are deceived. And I've been saying this for going on 2 years. Do not trust her. I've laid out all the reasons. She is not our friend. She is not a viable third-party candidate. If she runs as a third-party candidate, she is there to pull MAGA voters and walk away voters away from Trump. That is her purpose. She is here to ruin the vines. I appreciate your comments here, you guys. Why did she dare Hillary to run? Well, some people in the comments are saying that it's kind of a good cop, bad cop situation, and that would make sense, right? Because it makes her look good. Anybody that stands up to Hillary Clinton, who is it that really has the most hatred and loathing for Hillary Clinton? Is it the Democrats, or is it the Republicans, the conservatives? What happened when Trump was running for president? What was the chant from the Trump supporters regarding Hillary Clinton? Lock her up, lock her up. Who is one of the people that the conservatives most want to see taken down? Hillary Clinton. So wouldn't it be strategic for Tulsi to come out and have a smackdown, a very public smackdown of Hillary Clinton? Wouldn't that be strategic? Because she knows that this is a soft spot for conservatives. She knows that. You know, she's not going to come out and have a public spat with another person from her party on an issue that conservatives are against. If she disagrees with an issue that Hillary supports, for example, why would she have a public dispute on that? She's going to have a public dispute on something that would pull at the heartstrings of the MAGA people. And so you've got all these people out there saying, "Go Tulsi, good job, girl, you go, girl." And it puts Tulsi in a position of being a victim. Who else does that? Who do we know that takes on victim status in order to earn our sympathies? Do Republicans do that? Recognize the strategy, you guys. Recognize what is happening and recognize when you're being played, because you are being played. And it's really critical that you understand this, because she's one of the people, but I guarantee you she won't be the last. They all do. That's one of their strategies. Look at Antifa. Look at some of the radicals in Congress. What do? They start a fight, they pick a fight, they create a crisis, and then they play the victim. This is an age-old strategy. Start thinking and praying. And when you pray, listen and get revelation, because God is giving us revelation. He's giving you wisdom and revelation. As a Christian, you have wisdom and revelation. Start listening and paying attention, because He's talking to you. He's telling you what's the truth. Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if Tulsi doesn't come back for a later run. The next thing that she's going to try to do is to become a senator. So that would be the thank you, First Queen Linda, I appreciate that. That would be her next play, is to become a senator for Hawaii. And, you know, she serves on all the right committees, foreign affairs, intelligence, all those kind of things. So she's got her foot in the door of all the places. Because, by the way, by being on those committees, she has clearances and she gets access to sensitive information. Don't forget that. Pay attention to that. And this is where your prayers and your discernment and your intercession comes in. This is critical stuff. This is really important stuff to understand. Yeah, a lot of men are sympathetic to her and they're being played by her. Yep. Yeah, I can't tell you how many conservative men have told me, oh, because she's really hot. Yeah, Jezebel was too. And so was Delilah. Cut off the hair. Think about that. Yeah. So it's getting dark, and I'm outside, so I'm gonna run here. But I appreciate everybody. Please make sure you follow this. I'm Mary Grace. You're on Mary Grace Media. Follow my Twitter, Mary Grace Media. Follow this Periscope channel and turn on your notifications. Also follow my YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube to Mary Grace Media. Yeah, this is really important. I'm really glad that you guys were able to get on today. Please make sure other people hear this. Please share this with your Christian friends because it's really important that people are not deceived. A lot of people were deceived in 2008 by a candidate that they thought was a Christian. And look what happened. So pay attention. Be on the alert. Be the watchman on the walls. You guys are great. Thank you for coming in. Have a great day. Tulsi is trustworthy. No. Take care, guys.